Since they want
You want to take care of this kid?
Now, on the way to the moon, you have to understand the environment of space is quite harsh. It could be 200 degrees or 93 degrees Celsius on the direct radiation of the sun.
Before we had ships like ours, probes and satellites were one of the best ways to learn about the solar system. Probes were capable of traveling faster and farther, and it was less safe for human explorers. They went first, so we could follow. We're tracing the path of Cassini, which spent 13 years studying Saturn and its moons.
Thank you very much for taking me inside here. I'll try to share with you as best I can. We have a few minutes here. So this is a real spaceship. This was Atlantis, flew many times to space. On my second mission, we went to the Hubble Space Telescope. I lived on board Atlantis for 14 days. There is the Hubble, that's a mock-up. That's not the real telescope, of course, but that's exactly what it looks like. Same size. It's the payload bay of the space shuttle. So on this end, this has been in space many times. So the windows at the top, that was our flight deck. So on the flight deck, that's where you flew the vehicle. There's also windows that we might be able to see over there. There's overhead windows that we use when we rendezvous with the space station or with the Hubble in our case. That's where all like kind of this flying astronaut work went on. Was on that second level, the flight deck. The lower level we called the mid deck. That's where you would get in and out of the space shuttle when it was on the ground. So that hatch right there, that hatch would be open. So when you launch, it's up like this, and you would go inside that hatch. You would enter into the mid deck. That's the lower deck. So the lower deck is where the galley was, where you'd make your food. We didn't have CP chicken, unfortunately, but we had other food. So you would make your food, had a little oven, rehydrating station. Also, you could get your drinking water and drinks there as well. Also, the toilet, as soon as you went in that door, right to the right is where the toilet was. There were lockers in the front for all of your food and clothing, and a lot of your tools were there. And then there's the airlock. We'll see that the airlock is in the mid deck as well. That's where we would go out to do our space logs. So we had those two decks. These here, these little holes here, these are actually little jets. So when you're flying in an airplane, you have an atmosphere, and so the control surfaces allow you to turn and do all kinds of things, right? There's no air in space, so they do have control surfaces. We'll see those on the wing, but they don't work in space because there's no air for it to react against. So you have little jets to point you and make you go in different directions. And those, you can see them here on this side and on the top. Some are smaller, some are larger, but those are all reaction control system jets. So they would shoot a little bit of gas out.
So these are two small jets.
Those two small. They're all those things here. Those two there. That one there. The other side there. There's these things that are covered up here. These little holes there that are covered. Those, it's too bad they haven't covered, but those are star trackers. So allows you to track stars. So they had one looking up, one looking to the side. As long as you can get two stars, you know where you are.
Oh, so you aligned
the
them.
vehicle, know where it was. Yeah, those are more like cameras, though.
Wow.
These are jets here.
Uh-huh.
And then here's the hatch. There's Atlantis. This is where the commander would sit on this side during the launch. On the other side is where the pilot, kind of the co-pilot, sat. And then behind them were two other astronauts. And then, so there were four astronauts who sat on the flight deck for launch and for entry. And then three more on the mid deck. We had chairs that we would put in for launch and then our entry. 7 people on board. Yeah. It's it's not a lot of room, but when you get to space, you start to float around, and the room becomes much bigger. Yeah. So this is when I mentioned the airlock. So the airlock. If you can, this is the top part of this is kind of like a tunnel. When the space shuttle would go to the International Space Station, it would dock with the International Space Station with that thing on the top. And then there's that tunnel goes to another tunnel down. You can see it down below. The tunnel that goes across here and then goes up. And that's where the airlock is. So for us, what we did on my flights, we would come out where that thing is attached to the bulkhead. That's inside the shuttle. The airlock is outside the shuttle. So we come out, get into the airlock here. And then instead of going out the top, we would go over here. The space on this side. Down below there on this side, that's a hatch that would open up, and then you'd go do your space logs. This is the robot arm right here above us. Yeah, right here. So that's the robot arm. We use that. Yeah. So that arm was used to grab the telescope when we went to the telescope. During our missions, also, you can see over there they have an astronaut on the end of the arm. So I did that for a couple of my spacewalks. It was on the end, and they move you around on that thing. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Become like a Superman.
I'm like, yeah, you're flying around there. When you're the other person, what I did more on my that's more for the new guy. On my second flight, I moved around with my hands mainly. So you have one person on the robot arm, the other person moving around with his hands. That other thing that says Canada on it, that's an inspection boom. That was the last few flights we had the accident with Space Shuttle Columbia. That was my first spaceship on Columbia. The next time Columbia went to space, it didn't come back. Oh. And so after that, we wanted to be able to inspect the spaceship and make sure it was okay. So that was added for the last few flights. So we had that on my second flight, but not on my first. So you would grab that with the robot arm, and that allowed you, at the end of it, there was a bunch of sensors that you would go over the entire spaceship and make sure everything was okay, that you could come home safely.
You can scan it. Right?
You scanned it, yeah. They took pictures and scans and radar, all these different things to make sure that it didn't have any damage that would be a problem coming home. Okay. Some other things, there's cameras. You can see those cameras. They look, they're kind of beefy. There's two there. Yeah, one of them's kind of looking right at us there. There's another one there in each corner. So those were cameras to get different views. There were also cameras on the robot arm too. We would look out, if you look at the top, so if you look at the top of the roof there, those two windows were used for rendezvous. So when you were flying the rendezvous, you would be looking out of those windows as you're coming up to another object, the station or the telescope. The two windows that are looking out this way, not the ones on top, but the ones that look out this way, that would allow us to work the robot arm. You'd look out into the payload bay out this way to work the robot arm and also to see what's going on with the spacewalker. So we usually had a person in each one of those windows looking out, one working the robot arm, the other one like helping the spacewalkers kind of what they're doing. Yes, one. Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
So we have to repeat everything.
Okay. And this is a space. Well, I'm happy to do that. Yeah. What else can I tell you? This is really well displayed. We can see that this is the payload base. So one thing this is a big spaceship, right? Now the ones, like the one we're going to see launch tomorrow or whenever that is. When are we going? Tuesday, hopefully, right? Yeah. So that one, that one's got a little baby. That's just a little spaceship and the rocket's not that large. This is huge, right? This is big. So it could take a lot of stuff up. The reason that the Hubble is the size it is because they made it fit inside of the space shuttle. So they made it as big as it could, but it can fit about the size of, in the United States, a school bus in the United States will fit inside of here more or less. It's big. So it takes a lot of stuff. It could also take stuff down. So that's the thing that people don't always, I think, would think of, is that not only could the space shuttle take 7 people up and take a big thing like that, but it pieces up the space station. Everything went up on the shuttle from the U.S. side. But it also could take stuff down. Yeah. So you could also bring a lot of things back. So it wasn't just a little thing. Yeah. So now what happens now is cargo goes up on one spaceship and people go up on another. That's the way we do it now. But the shuttle could do all of it, and it could also land on a runway, which is kind of cool. But it was a lot of human interaction with it. All the landings were manual landings by the commander.
You ever been hit by the asteroid?
Oh yeah, it gets hit. Hopefully it doesn't do too much damage, but there was. Every flight, it would take something would hit it usually.
Big one, so.
No, nothing. A big one would be a problem, but just little dings, little rocks, little pieces of whatever will hit and do a little bit of damage, but nothing that would. We were lucky. We didn't have anything that would be, especially during a spacewalk. On the space station, they get hit as well. Things will hit. So you try to make it so the space shuttle, the space station, can withstand that. And our spacesuits too. The spacesuits, like you see the fake one over there. But that had 7 layers to it, including a layer of Kevlar, which is bulletproof material. So, and it was kind of a bulky suit. You couldn't walk in it. It was meant to allow you to do your work, but also to protect you from anything that you might run into. So we were very concerned about hitting things. Yeah, and the Hubble got hit. We would see on the Hubble like little dings of it. Things in space will get hit by micrometeorites, little debris, things like that. Yeah. So, but so far we've been lucky. Yes, so it's really fast. You're going 17,500 miles an hour.
17,000?
Yeah, so even no matter what, something really small can do. Something big would be really bad. But the windows would take hits. The radiator. These are the radiators here on the doors. So we would open up the doors of the shuttle like this. So when you launch, they're closed. The arm is down. and that the doors are closed. Here they're deployed, so that and these radiators would move. Actually, these silver things would move out, and they would reject heat. So you had to get rid of your heat somehow, and that's how you did it.
But how many times have it been used? Up and down with.
How many? Me?
No, this machine.
Oh, I don't. That's a very good question. I don't know. I don't.
I use many.
We could find that out, but yeah, no, many times.
Many times.
Yeah, many times.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So on the return flight, it's like I think that you landed in Texas. Is there a reason why, or
No, not Texas.
California?
All the shuttles, we would try to land here at the Kennedy Space Center. My first flight, we landed here at the Kennedy Space Center. But for example, my second flight, the weather was bad. We got a couple extra days in space. The weather didn't get better, and we landed in California at Edwards Air Force Base. The only other place you can land a space, I mean, you can emergencies, you could land other places, but for your scheduled landings, if you're not, you had an emergency, you could also land. They only did it one time in New Mexico at a place called White Sands. Yeah, but they only did that one time, and it wasn't such a good place to go. So
to put it.
yeah, we should get going. Let's go. Yeah, we go.